Good thing I'm not self-conscious because those alphas would really make me feel inadequate about my body. Hi, my name is Muzz, and welcome to the spoiler episode of 28 Years Later. And we are just going to talk through the film in its entirety, all the kind of main problems that I have with it, and all the things I really enjoyed about it. If you saw my previous video, you know that I liked the film. Putting my cards on the table, I saw it, when did I see it? At 3 o'clock today, and it is now 10 past 10, so I've had very little kind of time to digest the film, and as I said, like, I'm doing this because I don't have time this week to record, so we're just going to get into it, and yeah, can I talk through the film and hopefully all of its entirety, or all that I can remember. So, because I've done a great job at remembering the characters' names in the last film and still didn't look them up in the last episodes out. Pardon me. So you got Spike. It's his big day. He's leaving. He's leaving to go to the mainland. His dad is like, "Yep, we're going." Um, you learn about his mum being stuck up in the bedroom. Like she has an illness that they're not quite sure about, and ultimately, that is kind of what the film is based on. The main focus becomes about his mother's illness, and then going in search of a doctor who is not introduced to the story yet. So we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. So Spike is getting clapped off in the village, and there's a woman who's making eyes at the dad. That comes back later. As I talked about in the last episode, like the leaving the island scene was hype. Hype. The poem that was in the trailer is going off. There's images of war, archers, medieval. Like it's like a trailer within the film. It really gets you hyped for. What I thought was they were going to kind of stay out there. I did get a few things wrong. Turns out there's no cult in in the mainland. There's just one guy, the doctor, who we'll get to. But yeah, the first parts we learned that there's different types, and now I'm trying to remember if this was the case in. It definitely wasn't in 20 days later. 20 weeks later, I haven't watched that in a long time, so was there different types of effect in that? But you learn that there's actually different types of infected. So you've got the slowers, the slow goers, whatever, fat ones that kind of crawl along the ground, and I'm like, they almost seem like the sneaky ones. it's like it's because they seem to be able to sneak up on a lot of the characters in this film, despite being lumbering, crawling like blobs. Um, so that is Spike's first kill, and the gore. Oh, the arrow goes in, sprays, and the dad turns around, shoots the other one that snuck up on them, and he gets his first kill. Then they find a house, where they find an infected just hanging. And I thought it was interesting. I think maybe this should have been the first kill because all of a sudden Spike like doesn't like it, and maybe because it does look more like a human than the monstrous slug-like things that are out there. But I thought that maybe should have been his first kill and then the stores. But that's me being a bit nitpicky. And they ultimately introduce us to the alphas. So these are, and it's beautifully shot, the shadows in the horizon, showing this giant infected, smart infected that is essentially in control of the smaller, faster ones, it seems, and directs them to attack Spike and his dad. They manage to survive up in the loft of the house where they were. Again, great action, great gore. Well, up there, they see a fire, and the dad is like, I don't know what that is, when we know for sure he knows what is there. So they there's deer and they cause the house to fall down because there's so many of them, and they stampede away from the infected, and they get back, and this is my fault because up to this point I've been really enjoying it, really enjoying it, and they get chased by the alpha, and it's a beautifully shot scene, I must say, with the because the island has a causeway, and at high tide it can't be accessed, and this is kind of like it's at shin height the water, and they're running through the water, and the effects on the splashes in the water, just as such an interesting chase sequence. You've got the dad and Spike at the front, and then you've got the alpha, which is full sprinting through the water, at the two of them, and it's just so beautifully shot. They managed to kill the alpha, and I'm like, okay, we're probably not going to see another alpha again. We do. When I think they shouldn't have killed, maybe they should have damaged it or something, and it like maybe shown its more intelligent side, where it realizes it's not got a chance of getting in, and it falls back. Maybe something like that should have been done, rather than it getting absolutely decimated by a giant ballistic arrow through the chest. So they get back and they party, and Dad goes away with the woman, despite obviously being married, it seems. His son sees this, Spike sees this, sorry, and he is like obviously pissed off in the morning. He goes back home. Oh, sorry, he goes back home at night, and he talks to I don't know if it's the grandfather or it's just an old guy who works in the village who looks after the mum, and they talk about her illness a wee bit, and he talks about the fire, and he brings up the old guy talks about it being a doctor, and Spike's like, whoa, there's a doctor, and nobody's told me, like my mum's ill, like, so naturally he's pissed off. I missed one of the key points of the first bit was that Spike in the chase sequence to the house becomes really scared and like misses a lot of his shots, and he like openly admits this to the old guy, and he's like he's scared, he couldn't do it, which becomes another issue which I'll talk about. So wakes up, he confronts his dad about the doctor and the woman, and he is naturally pissed off, so he actually kind of pulls a knife out on his dad, and he goes away. And this is where I'm like, I wish they'd have left more time. Maybe he went out a few more times, but he instantly devises a plan to take out his ill mum. Now, I know he's a 12-year-old and he can make irrational things, but surely he has to understand the danger he's putting his mum in by taking her out of this safe place and into the wilderness with him, who is by no means a survivalist. He was out for a couple hours and almost died. I wish they'd have maybe shown a bit more of him gaining his confidence, planning it a bit more to then go out. I feel like that was a bit rushed, and it did kind of. I was like, this because you've shown how dangerous this part of the world is. You've shown how like they encountered slow things, they encountered fast ones, the alpha. They encountered all of this within just a few hours from the island, and you want to go further into the mainland. So that part kind of took it out of me a wee bit. I was like, this isn't a smart decision for this character to make. You've already shown how dangerous this world is. Like, you're either going to have to make them get incredibly lucky or them not really have much action, which they actually do encounter. I'm a few. So then takes out his mum, sets a fire off in the village, and takes out his mum into the mainland to go see the doctor, and that's the rest of the film. So we're walking, we don't encounter any infected, and we get to a church, and another one of these big fat blobs is able to sneak up on someone, and it gets killed by the mum, which I was like, I really would have preferred it if they didn't show that, because it's a cool way that it gets killed, because it doesn't actually realise what it's eating, or it goes to eat the shoelace because it likes worms, or it eats worms, and it's about to take a bite out of Spike, but then a bag goes over it and it somehow ends up dead next to him when he wakes up. Doesn't let you even think about who could it. It could have been the mum, could it have been the dad, could it have been someone else. Doesn't even let you hypothesize that. It shows the mum killing it the next, and I would have rather they didn't do that. Guess it's shown that the mum's protective instinct is still there. Spike is a terrible, terrible night watchman. Almost gets himself eaten in the first shift, and then after that we're introduced to some normal people, some people who have landed on the island against their will, soldiers who quite easily, I must say, get taken out by the infected and the alpha, the new alpha. So we're introduced to another alpha, which takes away from this one because we've seen one be killed. I think they could have done that better. Again, I think they could have done that where the first alpha that we meet is the alpha for the rest of the film. He runs at the base, he gets injured, he realises, nah, I'm not going to get this, so he retreats. Then he comes back with and kills the soldiers. He's a lot smarter about it. And there's one who gets away, Eric, and it's interesting to see the contrast. He meets up with the Spike and his mum, and ends up blowing up a gas station. Funny bit in the film is where it's the Shell garage, but the S is fallen off, so it just says Hell. I like that little detail. How do they get chased? Do they get chased? These zombies come. The zombies come, chase them to the Shell garage. There's gas in the Shell garage, which is like floating atop the surface. Like there's a clear divide between where the gas is. And Eric tells him to get down. He shoots, and yeah, he essentially incinerates all the infected. And we go on. Eric and that is catching up, and Mum's having a bit of an episode, and they talk about the contrast between the worlds. Is it Eric? He's Swedish anyway. I think he's Swedish. And he talks about like having a phone. He shows a picture of his girlfriend. It's quite funny. She's got like fake lips. So Spike goes, "Oh yeah, this person in the village gets the same thing when she eats shellfish." I thought it was quite a funny little scene. But again, this is where it kind of took me out because of these little kind of bits. With the mum being shown to kill, the decision to go out, the comedy in it is quite a nice reprieve, but then I get drawn back in, and this is where I get drawn back in, and the rest of the film really engages me for the rest of it. Again, Spike is doing a terrible job of looking after his mum. He lets her get ahead and goes onto a train where a pregnant infected is giving birth, and you're like you should be by her side the whole time. Anyway, so this is where we see that they actually might have still some humanity in them, and they can breed, clearly. Because the mum can see that the infected's in pain and puts her hands out to like almost console her and get her through it. She like squeezes, and the mum gets the Isla. Is it Isla? Is that her name? Have I been calling her that the whole time? Could I have been calling that the whole time? I think it's Isla. We're going to go with Isla, and if I'm wrong, I apologise. But Isla gets the baby out, and Eric shoots the infected because it was going to attack. I believe it was going to attack. And Eric ultimately gets snatched up by the Alpha, who seems to have been the father of this baby. And what's interesting about the baby is the baby isn't infected. So that is an interesting development. I don't think, have we ever seen, I mean, I guess Ellie from The Last of Us, spoilers for The Last of Us, she is infected. Her mum gives birth and she's infected, but she doesn't turn into a zombie. Whereas this is just flat out. They blame it on the percent. They blame it. They give it to the. They give the credit to the placenta. Jesus, I am talking a lot, and I apologise. It's late, but we're going to get through it because the last part of the film is the bit that I think is the best. We meet the doctor, who saves them from the Alpha by stunning him, and he actually has a name for him, Samson or something. And again, it's just like you can quite easily stop him, and what they don't kill him. They don't kill this Alpha who is clearly a threat and clearly going after them. Which again, I was just like, why are we? And I guess it's because the Doctor sees the humanity in them. He goes on to talk about that at his bones sculpture. So this is, yeah, this is a really good part of the film. And when we meet the Doctor, it's Ralph. Oh my god, I forget his name. Guy who plays Voldemort. Phoenix. Is that how you say it? Ralph Phoenix. And he's a really good, really charismatic, comes across really well. And ultimately he diagnosed as I'm missing a bit, but he shows off the shrine to the shrine to death, but it's also a reminder that we almost die. He says something in Latin that I can't remember, and ultimately it's. I thought it would have been played more into cult, like this was almost like a warning or a shrine for worship, but it's actually more a shrine and a shrine to death in a way that's not creepy. It's almost like we all die at some point, and this is a place to remember all those people that were infected, that weren't infected. They all were people, and it's quite a kind of one. It's almost wondrous, and one of the scenes that makes it really spectacular. So the Doctor eventually gets to diagnose Isla. We're going with Isla, Spike's mum. He diagnoses with cancer, and it's in the brain or it's in the body, and it got to the brain, but ultimately she doesn't have long left. And it's a very it definitely got me, this scene, because ultimately uh, the Doctor and Isla are kind of make a decision there and then that she wants to die her way. It's a bit like assisted suicide, really. And Spike gets like tranquilized with the baby, and it's that kind of idea of rebirth, the circle of life. One person's life ends where another one begins, and it was beautifully shot as well. The fire is a key part of it. You know, that kind of idea of like rising like a phoenix. You know, again, kind of going into it, but burning it down. And he puts his mum's skull on top, and it's a beautiful scene, really, really, really nice, and it definitely got me choking up a wee bit, because it is they do a really good job. I probably should have said this in the last video, but they do a really good job of the connection between Spike and his mum, and making you feel sort of like even though she is ill, there is still that part of her in there that is still his mum and looks out for him. And they do a really excellent job of establishing that, and it ultimately leads to an emotional scene with her choosing to end her life and allowing almost giving, not like talking about the baby, like that kind of circle of life thing that I've been talking about. So ultimately, Samson, the big alpha, comes looking for the baby, it seems, and he almost gets the Doctor. If it wasn't for Spike, who tranquilizes him again, like just kill him. He's clearly It's clearly an issue. Just kill him. You've got him. And yeah, this is kind of towards the end of the film. Again, he's transporting a baby back. He's got a bow and arrow. It should be. It shouldn't happen. It's a dangerous world, but we'll overlook that part. And ultimately, Spike doesn't return to the village because of him lying there. The village kind of lying to him, and his dad kind of being a bit of a good for nothing. And it finishes very strangely, and I actually forgot to mention the first part of the film, the very opening scene, which is set up in Scotland, set up in the Highlands of Scotland, where we see a kid who's watching telly, this group of kids in this Scottish village, who they all get killed, but this one kid gets away, and he runs to the church, and his dad gives him a cross, and you're like, okay, well surely he's going to come up at some point. And then we get to the end of the film where it's kind of an emotional letter to his dad talking about this is his Isla. He names the baby Isla after his mum. And he'll return when he sees fit. And he gets chased by zombies and he's shooting arrows like it's no tomorrow. But then he gets to a part where, oh, it's a dead end. And then this guy with a cross, which is now inverted, comes out. And it's honestly something that, if you've ever seen Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, where they start ninja flipping about the place, and like it's something out of like a very different to the film that we have watched. It's a comedic sketch almost with the way they're killing the zombies, opposed to the whole gritty film that we've just watched. Felt very, very out of place, and yeah, it just kind of caught me off guard. But low key, if I know low key, I really wanted to see more. I was actually quite disappointed when the film ended and there was no end credit sequence. I was like, if this is the way it's going to go, I kind of want to see it. They were all dressed in like Adidas, like different coloured Adidas tracksuits as well, and had like different weapons. Like one had like two poles and a wire, and was like they were sawing a zombie. And it was crazy, a crazy way to end this film, and it just came out of completely nowhere. It really did just catch me off guard. Ah, I believe I got through all the kind of big points that I wanted to talk about. I did have issues with the kind of characters' motivations. I thought things happened a bit too quickly for me to believe them. Like Spike, I'd went from, in this matter of a few hours of being terribly scared of the zombies, to willing to take his mum out and protect her, knowing full well what was out there, in the matter of, unless there was a time jump that I missed, a few hours, like a day, and then be able to protect her even though they had ran into so much. So that did kind of take out of me a wee bit, but the scene at the end was beautiful. Yeah, just a very well made, incredibly shot film. Some scenes in there that I will definitely remember for a long time, like the fire with Isla dying was beautifully shot, very emotional scene, as they got me a wee bit. my heart was going. But yeah, ultimately, enjoyed it. I liked the film. It was a good film, and here's to 28 decades later. I would love to see that film. That would be. I hope they just keep doing this. 28 years now, 28 decades later. That'd be pretty interesting to see if the infected are still there, or have they managed to actually get rid of them, because the rest of the world seems to have moved on from the infected, which is quite interesting. So anyway, that is 20 years later. What do you think? In the spoiler episode of my reviews, did you enjoy it? Did you not? What was your favourite part of the film? What was your least favourite part of the film? Talk about these things, because it is a spoiler. We can talk about whatever we want about the film. That is the beauty of having a spoiler episode. So, all that's left to say is any thoughts, comments, general hostile remarks, leave them below. And thank you very much. Bye bye.